These ones are the best.
So I met some of you already, but my name is Kiely Clemens. I am a software developer here at Weave, and I just kind of want to talk about my path to getting here and like how my experience has been becoming a software developer. My background isn't like a super traditional like CS major, did a job in computer science background, so it's been like an interesting journey here, and I kind of went through a lot of different interests. So hopefully my experiences are interesting to you guys. How do I do this? Yeah, so just a little bit about myself before I go in. Like I said, I'm a software developer. That's my husband, Max. We live in South Jordan, and he's also a software developer at Pluralsight. And those are our two little dogs who have not shown any interest in programming yet. Okay, so a little bit about like my educational background. I grew up just outside of Seattle, so there's like a ton of tech companies there, but for some reason, like when I was growing up, there was no education for computer science in like middle school or high school. So like I didn't even know it was a real job you could get or anything. Like we had a technical class and it was called Tech Skills, and it was like learning how to use Microsoft Word and PowerPoint, and that's basically as far as it went. Like I'm just curious, like how many of you had opportunities to take classes in high school or middle school? Yeah, it's pretty uncommon, I think.
Just the same one, Microsoft.
Yeah, computer tech class. Yeah, I think it's crazy how many jobs there are and they don't really like start teaching you. I mean, I think these days it's getting better, but when I grew up, it wasn't a thing at all. So I went off to BYU and I was trying to find what I was interested in. And I went through like a few different things. I was thinking maybe I'd major in like piano or marketing or something. And I just didn't really like find a passion for any of those. After like 2 years at BYU, I like discovered the linguistics program, which was really interesting to me. The thing that I love about it is how like language is so like not black and white. It can be like such a gray thing, and it's so complicated, but like people can just understand it from the time they're like really little. And I just thought that was really cool. So like this is an example of like how weird language can be sometimes, but yeah, so I thought it was like really crazy how people are able to just like communicate using language. And then around that same time is when like Siri and Alexa started to get popular. And so that was just like even crazier to me that you could teach a computer to like understand the language that's like so complicated and like even have it like communicate back to us. So that's kind of what like got me interested in the computer side of things. And I took like the intro class at BYU and just fell in love with it. So after I realized that I really liked programming, I decided I wanted to like try to get some real world experience with it. So my first internship was at a really, really tiny company called Praiseworthy. It was like 3 people. It wasn't really a real company. And I didn't do a lot of programming. I did more of like the linguistic side of it. So I was just kind of like tagging words by what part of speech they were. After that, I went to HireVue, which I'm sure you guys might have heard of before. It's like right up the road from us. So they do like video interviews, and the like specifically the area I was working on was like analyzing the interviews. So they do like machine learning to look at the videos and tell you like how good of an employee that person might be, like to predict it. So I worked on the linguistic side of that. So I kind of like created features for their machine learning model to like say, is there a correlation between like the number of different adjectives the person uses and how good of an employee they'd be, or like the number of times they say I versus you or something. So I really loved that. That was fun. I did that for a summer, and then after that I went to Goldman Sachs, which was just like a total culture shock coming from like 2 small startups. I mean, as you probably know, it's a really big company, it's a bank, it's really intense. And I also did front-end development there, which is how I found out that I don't really like front-end development. So I mean, it was good though, because it helped me narrow down my interests. It was a good learning experience. And then I graduated after that and looked for my first full-time job, which is how I found Cobalt Speech and Language. They do custom speech solutions for companies that like aren't big enough to have their own development teams. So for example, like one of the things I worked on was a toy. It was like a robot toy that you could give commands to and it would like respond back. So we did like the software for that. And then after working there for a year, I found Weave, and now I work here. So I'm a back-end developer here. And I work on the integrations team, so we help integrate our software with, yeah, Miriah's on my team. We help integrate our software with the software that the dentist office or optometrist office is using for their patients. So yeah, I'm really happy where I'm at now. I think all those jobs taught me things that helped lead me here. So cool. Obviously though, like that didn't come out without a bunch of obstacles that I faced on the way. But I was like curious, like, does anyone want to share some challenges that you faced like getting into development? Miriah?
Not having a CS degree.
Yeah.
That was mine.
I can agree with that.
Yeah. Oh, another one. Right?
Not having a GitHub portfolio
To share on your
to
resume.
share on my resume.
Okay.
Meaningful project ideas, like
Yeah.
that actually, yeah, I'm not looking to go build the next entrepreneur like website for myself, you know? So I'm like, okay, who wants a site built?
Yeah.
Because
I kind of have the same thing. I felt like a lot of people in computer science like already had tons of the personal projects that they could show, and I didn't really like have anything because I didn't know what to work on when I started. So yeah, I had similar to a lot of the ones I just talked about. My first challenge was that I really wanted to major in computer science after I realized I liked it, but it was too late for me to switch because I had so many credits in linguistics that BYU was like, we don't want you here anymore. You need to finish your degree and get out. So I had to finish linguistics, and so I ended up just doing a minor in computer science. So that led to another challenge, which was like me wondering if I'd be able to find a good job without the degree in CS, which Miriah pointed out. I noticed like a lot of career fairs, like as soon as I said I was a linguistics major, they'd be like, oh, here's some like business jobs you could do or a receptionist position. And they didn't really take me seriously as a programmer, even though I'd like worked really hard to learn all of those skills. But with that said, like for each of those companies that was super, super like specific or picky, there's another company that wants diversity in the backgrounds of the people there. So like when I went to Goldman Sachs, everyone on my team had a different major and no one was a CS major. So it's not really as hard as it seems. Like some companies are going to be like picky about it, but it was fine. Obviously, I ended up with some really good experiences. The third one is like just the stereotypes I'd heard about developers before I like met any of them, or like before I started studying it. I had just heard, you know, the typical like, oh, computer scientists are like super reclusive. They're not like fun to be around. They're know-it-alls, or they just sit in a cubicle all day or whatever, you know. So I was like nervous about that, about getting into that. And like, obviously I can't say everyone I've met hasn't been a little bit like that, but for the most part, it's not true. And like the things that I did think were like weird at first are just things I've grown to love about my coworkers. And I'm sure I'm like that now too. So, and then the last one is just like programming is super hard. Like all of my classes I took were really challenging, and I never thought of myself as like the logical type of thinker. So it was just like changing my whole mindset to be able to like wrap my mind around how to program. So, and it's still hard. Like there's obviously a lot of like challenges that you run into where you're just like banging your head against the wall and it's difficult. But with that said, like I really, really like being a software developer. I love that you can like participate in almost any industry in the world because there's like computer science, you know, everybody needs developers. So like if your thing is like music, you can do like programming in music, or if you're interested in like the healthcare industry, there's tons of jobs there. So I love that you can just kind of like pick an interest and like follow it to a job. I like the challenging aspect. I know I said that as an obstacle too, but I love the feeling of like working on something for so long and like finally getting it to work, and like just seeing stuff come together is so awesome. And of course it's nice to be challenged and not be doing like the same thing every single day. And then lastly, like the collaboration side of it, like most of the companies I worked at have been like extremely collaborative. So I've done like a lot of pair programming or just like working with a team really closely and bouncing ideas off each other and being able to ask people for help. So I like that environment. Okay, so there's like a few things that I've kind of like learned on that whole path. And I don't know like how helpful it will be to you guys, but I thought I'd share it. The first one is that it's totally normal to just have like imposter syndrome and feel like you're not good enough. Like I've had that a lot. I know a lot of people that have that. And I think it might just be like because of the industry that we're in, there's just so many like new technologies all the time. And like companies are always changing like the tools they use. And so it's just kind of part of the job that you're gonna have to feel like an idiot for a little bit and then before you learn it. And that's okay. And like for the most part, people have been like extremely patient with me when I felt like I didn't like get something at first. The second one, like a lot of job postings that I've applied for have like these insane requirements that I don't feel like I fit all of them. And I don't think that like you have to let those types of things stop you from applying for something. Like obviously I've been rejected. It's not like I've gotten every job I've applied for, but it's like on the flip side, I've gotten jobs that I didn't even think like were possible, or opportunities that I didn't think I would like qualify for, just because I kind of put myself out there. And then the last one is like the biggest thing I've learned from like my whole process of getting here is that it's totally okay and good to let your goals change over time. I used to think that like if I didn't end up doing the thing I like thought I was gonna do at the beginning, I was like giving up on a goal, but I don't think it's that way. I think that you should just follow your interests, and like it's okay. You don't have to like have some like hard and fast plan for your life that you're gonna stick to forever. So yeah, I think that's all. Yeah, I'm really excited to meet all of you guys, and I hope to see some of you working here pretty soon. So thank you.
Is cafeteria closed or should I go?
Go ahead.
If anybody had questions for Kylie?
Yeah, do you guys have
Yeah, I
questions?
guess if you guys-
I
actually had to
right?
take off, so
She's got to go. So if anybody has questions for Kylie.
I mean, I can feel them, but I'm not as professional as Kylie. So.
What's your favorite thing about working at Wheat?
Her coworkers.
especially the fact you're telling me. It wasn't like that specifically, but I do really like the social atmosphere here, and maybe it's just coming from my last job where I worked remotely, so I didn't have like any face-to-face interaction, and I was working in like a upstairs office at my house alone all the time. Yeah. So like it might just be from coming from that, but I love like seeing people I like every day and like being able to joke around with my coworkers and stuff.
Cool. Is it easy to find work from home jobs like in development?
I think it's getting even more easy. Like I don't know like what the ratios are, but it seems like a lot of companies are starting to like adapt and let their employees work from home.
With
That's what we have.
experience, it's very easy to negotiate work from home opportunities.
That's true.
So if you're working for a bigger company and they're like recruiting you, you can negotiate that into your options. I agree with what Kylie said though. A lot of companies are making work from home options as part of it. Like we have a work from home policy at Weave. 2 days a week is the official policy. So Kylie and I both worked from home today and then came here for this.
Yeah, I do agree. And after you've worked at a place, I think it's a lot easier to say like, I'm moving away, but I still want to work here. Or like I've seen that a lot at my jobs. Or like I want to start working from home more. Like after they see your like work and stuff, it becomes a lot easier to like gain trust for that.
When you talked about, something we talked about at Dev Mountain too a lot with like Brian. I don't know if you guys know Brian because he's more like web development, but like when you're first starting out in software development, it's a lot easier to progress your skills if you don't try to work from home in the beginning until you actually have your skill set and like get past the imposter syndrome. And then you can.
Well, and being with people and problem solving together,
It's crazy.
it's really helpful. But I think a lot of companies realize that not everybody can be at work 24/7 or every day of the week.
I like the situation we have here because I think it's the perfect combination of both. Like you get the help and the interaction, but then you have the flexibility of being at home twice a week.
So you had a minor in like a CS?
Yeah.
Okay, so was that like enough to get you into your first job, or did you have to do a bit of work to extra like after you graduated to get your first job?
I basically just had the minor. I didn't have a lot of like special personal projects that I was showing off or anything, but I do feel like my internships kind of started more linguistics and with a little bit of programming and then like slowly changed. So I kind of used each of them as like a stepping stone to the next opportunity. I don't know if I would have gotten like a full-on development job right away, but.
Do you recommend internships?
Yeah, absolutely. I loved doing internships because it's like a non-commitment way of figuring out what you like to do.
Internships are good too because the company is a low investment in you, but they get to see your talent and then they kind of trust that, and then they're more willing to invest in somebody with less experience Would you say that?
That's true too, yeah, and like, obviously I wasn't getting paid as much as a developer. I mean, some companies do pay interns as well as developers, but the place I worked at was like less paid, so it was more of just like, show us what you can do, and like, you know, I worked like super hard to show that I was learning quick, because most of the stuff that I've learned since graduating was not what I knew in my classes at all. Like, it helped me get started, and it's like a baseline for everything, but I was learning like new stuff at each place. All right, thanks guys.
All right, I'll just go, yes. All right, so my presentation is a little bit different than these guys because I'm not a developer. So I am a product manager.
Can't do your dark job without you. So.
It's true.
Most important member of the team.
That is a very exaggerated statement, however.
She would say the opposite.
Okay, so product managers, product management. This is usually the question I get. Oh, not my name. My name is Rachel Beckstead. Oh, I forgot I did an intro slide because I saw Kylie's and I feel like I should add one. So this is my little dog, Walter, on the right. I feel like dog pictures are a must if you've got a dog, right? I have 16 nieces and nephews. I don't have my own kids, so they're kind of like I steal them when I want, and I give them back when they need to go back because they have school and life. So by far my favorite place I've ever been is Iceland. I don't know if you guys have ever been there. I watched Secret Life of Walter Mitty, and that's where he was in part of it, and I was like, I have to go to that place. They have more sheep than people. It's like 3-to-1 ratio, which was magical. I don't know why I love sheep. It could be because my name is they're just fluffy and cute. They are, and I got to feed a baby one. But my name in Hebrew means ew, not like ew gross, but like EWE. And so I think I have this maybe slight affinity towards sheep. I don't know what that is, but anyway, that's my dog when I got him when he was a puppy. So this is usually the reaction I get from people when I tell them I'm product manager. Who are you and what do you do? I don't know if you guys have ever seen Parks and Rec, but Craig is maybe my favorite character. So product managers, this is not a dictionary definition, this is my definition. So we are well-rounded. I say that because we all come from various backgrounds. Individuals who infiltrate companies because we care deeply about products, features, users, and solving really big problems and solving them well. That's kind of the caveat. So how did I get here in product? Because if you talk to a lot of product managers, you'll actually find we all have these like, the only word I can think of is sorted, but that sounds like we're crazy. But there's varying backgrounds. Nobody comes, so up until like the last probably few years really, product management as an academic discipline was not really a degree you could get. You could get certificates and you still can. And then some schools are starting to make master's programs. They're like year additions onto like a master's program, or MBAs that are with an emphasis in product management and product design and different things like that. So for me, just to kind of let you know my track of how I got into product, I don't even really think I knew really what product was up until like 5 years ago. So my background, I went to school and got a degree in communications, advertising and marketing. I originally started out in like psychology, then I went to human development. People fascinate me. And then I decided I really liked the business side of the world. And then also, so for me, advertising marketing kind of combined two, right? Like business and psychology. So I did that. So I was in digital marketing for a really long time. I've done everything in digital marketing you can think of, from affiliate marketing to email and social and SEO and everything. And then I worked for a company for about 7 years, and then we got acquired and stayed with that same company for another 3.5. So it's a super long time. Actually, this is one thing I did want to say. I don't know that developers really have this problem, but my first 2 jobs out of college, I actually got let go from. So my first job out of college, I was there for 8 months, and they dissolved my position, which no matter what happens with the job, And my manager was sitting across from me, was like, I want to keep you. We just can't keep this position. It has nothing to do with you. But I still went home and bawled and bawled and bawled. And it was a really good learning experience for me, because in the next job I was like, if I can just get past the year mark, that was like my thing. And the next job I went to, I remember, they actually went out of business after 10 months. I was like, what is happening? Like, is this how the world works?
Were you a product manager at both?
No.
Okay,
So sorry. I should say this. This is before I got into product.
Okay.
So this is right out of college. It's just marketing.
Okay.
Not just marketing, because marketing's great. But anyway, so I was like, I don't know how this is even supposed to happen. Like, how is it even supposed to work in a company for a long time? And so they had fired like 250 marketing managers throughout the US, and I was one of them, which ended up, it's funny. I guess my point in telling you all this is that businesses change and shift, and it's okay. And I know a lot of developers work on contract basis sometimes, and it just is this evolving and adjusting. But each of those shifts got me to a place that I liked even better. So I think the beautiful thing about working professionally is that every opportunity just gets a little bit better and you learn a lot. And so I ended up working for a company for about 10 years between the acquisition and not. And then we brought on a VP of product, and I was like, what even is product? And so he kind of talked to me about it and said, hey, we can set up some goals for you to become a product manager. And I was like, that's cool. So he actually worked with me. And this is kind of one of the benefits, kind of like internship, is if you get into a company where they can kind of mold you. And I know people do that with developers all the time too. We do it here at Weave, where we have people that haven't had as much experience, but we bring them on. I think I was talking to you about this. And we have them up on our support team, and then they kind of transition into a deeper developer role. So anyway, product is kind of like that. Any product manager you talk to, they'll have kind of a different background. For the most part, I'd say 95% have these varying different backgrounds. So just so you guys know, I made a lot of words on a lot of slides, but I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. But I just wanted you to know what product managers do, because product managers work super heavily with developers. I'm with my developers on my team all day. We talk all the time. We use Slack here to communicate. And so we're Slacking all the time. We have our own channel for communication. But product managers' main responsibilities are to understand the market, explore, uncover, and I say empathize with customer needs, because that's our big job. In product management, we talk a lot about emotional IQ, which is something that you can have baseline, but as a product manager, that's one of those skills you try to grow as a practice of paying attention to people and understanding what they need, and then how you can meet those needs. Developing product strategies, outlining outcomes. So not just what is the output, like we want to develop a cool feature, but what does that feature have to do? And what is the goal it's trying to accomplish? And then brainstorming for solutions with design and development. Like I said, I'm with our UX designer that's dedicated to my team, and my 2 developers have a front end and back end, and we just work super closely together. And then generating a realistic roadmap. So my developers are super involved in our roadmap. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the term roadmap. Does anybody maybe not know what that is? Everybody kind of know what that is? Okay, so a roadmap is what we use as our general strategy. So we, as teams, at least this is how we function in Weave, is we sit down and we say, what are the needs that our customers have within our product offering? And within the scope of our company. So the company sets a goal, then as a team we say, within our I guess our area, what are the needs that our customers have, and how can we fulfill that? And then I work with our developers and I say, okay guys, these are like 10 needs we need to meet. What are the solutions that we're gonna come up with to meet those needs? And then we come up with those, and then we prioritize them. My job as a product manager is to prioritize, the delivery of those, the timeline. What things are going to take a really long time, and do we get out a bunch of small things, or do we take the time to do this really big thing? And so we put on a roadmap, and then all of our teams put all of their things on a roadmap, and it comes and creates this big master roadmap. So that it actually gives really good visibility to the whole company on what we're doing. So I actually have a slide with a roadmap here in just a second. I'll show you. But then we deliver a product feature that meets our needs. well, the user needs and then the company goals, and then we iterate and we enhance, and we just are in this constant state of improving. So this is actually a really good depiction of what I feel like a product manager does. We just are all over the place, yet super focused. Sometimes I feel like this, like I'm in the middle and my developers are going, and I'm like trying to keep our ship stable. And like, okay, everything is making sense and we're on track. And so this is sometimes what it feels like. But this is kind of where product management sits inside an organization. We have our customers, and then we have our technology, which is our software and our phones, and then we have our business, and we kind of sit in between all of that. And so just so you guys know, our customers are really everybody inside of and outside of our organization. So everybody I'm talking to is a customer of mine. That's how I view it, at least. So we have our customers, and because we have a software and phone system, our customers' customers. And then we have internal teams, and here we have a lot of internal teams. I'm not going to read them all, but I engage with each of these teams on a regular basis. So I'm sitting down talking with them about, because we're creating software that then onboarding and support have to talk about. They have to troubleshoot with customers, and sales has to sell people on. They have to know what it does. They have to know what it doesn't do. They have to know how to troubleshoot all of these things. And then I forgot to put training. We have a training department. So I have to sit down with them and say, hey, this is what we're releasing. Can you guys make a demo video of this? And different things like that. And then obviously finance and our leadership team are very involved from like making sure we're making money and everybody's happy standpoint. So this is what we try to avoid as product managers. I don't know if you guys can read that very well, but essentially the top one is what the customer describes. So our goal, sit down with the customer, have them describe their problems and their needs. And then our goal is not to do this, is to create all these different versions of what we thought they wanted, when in all reality, this was the solution they wanted. So every different team has the thing that they think is the solution. And our job as product managers is to not become beholden to a solution, but to find the right solution. And that's why we try to talk about outcomes versus output. So not just delivering something that we think is the swing they wanted, but this is a swing they wanted, and they wanted it round, and they wanted to be able to sit in it, and they wanted to like swing and all these different things. So anyway, we do all that through gathering lots of feedback. We do user stories. We do lots of different design thinking processes. This is kind of another one that just kind of talks about all the different layers of research and input that we gather as product managers. And then this is a roadmap. So this is what our roadmap looks, super technical. So you can see it's in a Google spreadsheet. So this just talks about we are arranged in squads. So each of our squads has their own objectives and things they're trying to deliver on. And then we have timelines and deliverability and what phase in our development process is it. And so we're constantly updating this roadmap and working off of it. And people outside of our teams are looking at it and saying, because they're all waiting for stuff to get delivered, right? Software, they have customers banging down their door asking. So this is helpful for them to kind of have visibility to that. Just to give you guys a brief idea of how we work at Weave. So product and development are super intertwined. We actually follow a Spotify model, which is we have tribes, which is a group of teams. And then we have squads, which is my squad is our payment squad. So our squads are based off feature sets. And then within those squads, our developers are built into chapters. So our front end chapter, and they all work together and they have their own Slack channel. So they're helping each other grow with the front end skills that they have. And then we have a back end chapter, and DevOps, and all these different ones. Miriah could probably tell you more about that. And then the guild is they're learning these different skills across chapter and tribe. Did you add anything to that?
If you have any questions, ask me. It's more complicated than I want to get into in your talk.
Yeah, so Miriah can give you more context. So we work on Scrum. Every team kind of works a little bit differently, but the idea is agile development where you're getting in planning, doing all planning, and then you deliver as a team and consistently kind of evaluating how your process is working and what you're delivering. So we work in Jira. GitHub, we've worked in Jira before. So this is an idea of what our Kanban board looks like. So my team works on a Kanban board. Some teams do sprints, some teams do, I don't know, different things. You do that. So we actually we simplified and just said we're not actually going to evaluate the effort. We're not going to give it a full sprint point value, which is what a lot of teams do. We're just going to get in and do it. We're going to give it like a t-shirt size effort. We get in and do it. We just move through. And then we have quarterly health checks with our teams. This is something Spotify does too. So as a team, we sit back at the end of the quarter and say, yeah, how's everybody doing? Is everybody happy? And we have these cards that we kind of ask these questions amongst ourselves. And then I just want to get to this. My most favorite parts of my job, talking with customers and analyzing data, and then finding nuggets, sitting down with them and watching their emotion, watching them and hearing what they're saying and saying, oh, like you kind of infer a lot as a product manager. Like they're giving you answers, but they're giving it sometimes a little coded. And then automating difficult processes. That's super fun for me. If we can make something simpler. And these are really fun things for me to say. These are things I've actually heard recently, which is really nice. This is so easy to use. I didn't need any training. It's really nice as a product manager and even as a UX designer and developer. You know, if you give something to somebody and they're like, I didn't need any training. Some things just have to have training, but if they don't, it's super great to hear that. Saving people time, money, stress, knowing that they're using something a lot is super great to hear. Helping people troubleshoot and self-serve, so giving them documentation so they can service themselves. And then working with teams to create something that's valuable. And then these are just some ideas if you guys ever are interested in getting product. My direct manager actually was an engineer, like a legitimate mechanical engineer. And then he did some engineering stuff as far as like actual computer science engineering. And then he got into product. So there are a lot of engineers. And before my job here too, I was managing our websites. So I was coding some also. So if product sounds exciting to you guys, they're, like Kylie said, jobs are fluid. And I love it. And you guys will either work with product managers at some point, I'm sure. So anyway, do you guys have any questions? A lot of info.
I do have a question. I actually have a couple. So do you basically just manage these teams? Do you have like physically another product manager like that you manage? I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't manage any other product managers. We have about, I want to say 8 to 10 product managers right now. We all manage like a feature set. Like I said, mine is our payments platform. Some other ones are like our analytics tool, our phone team, our UCOM team, our integrations. So with third-party softwares, they build the integrations. And so, yeah, we're kind of set up. We have our manager who manages chunks of us, and then we have our VP of product. So.
And then what does growth look like, I guess, for a product manager?
So growth is pretty standard, like I would say traditional like titles. So you would start off like an associate PM, product manager, you go to a product manager, then a senior product manager, then there's directors and heads of product management, and then VPs and yeah.
So what are your thoughts on like boot camps like Dev Mountain? Like if somebody doesn't like have funds for anything and you're like, would you ever hire somebody from a boot camp or you're like, questionable? I know that's probably not the best question to ask, but I want like.
No, that's a good question.
In the world, right?
Good question.
But
Do you
yeah.
think it needs to be a combination maybe of DevMount and like a boot camp and the experience, or?
Yeah, I mean, Miriah may better answer that, but as a product
We
manager,
talked about this once.
as a product manager, I mean, we have to have confidence in our developers, just like our developers have to have confidence in us. I don't know that I would have less confidence in a boot camp grad necessarily. What I would probably look for more is experience and what can they show me that they've done. And then as I'm talking to them, competency with like terminology, because I do have some development understanding and because I've worked in this area for so long, having the ability to have those conversations and say, what would you do in this situation? So I think it's kind of a, I don't know, kind of a combination.
Almost like person by person, like you really can't say yes or no.
Yeah, just like me, when I was hired here, like as a product person, I know there were other product people that were more experienced than I was. Much more formal background. I had never worked in software before. Luckily, I knew our VP of product, and he kind of pulled me over here, and so he knew how I operated and worked. That's another thing I would say is if you guys can networking.
That's my talk.
Oh, I will stop there. Right, we'll go into that. But I would just say that's super powerful, and especially nice because I had interviewed at Ancestry before here, and they told me I didn't have enough experience to be a senior product manager over there, which was fine. But I was kind of feeling a little defeated, and I was like, oh man, I'm never really getting into software. And then what do you know? Things just happen, and Johnny messaged me. I'd seen him like in a restaurant a week before. He's like, hey, are you all interested in jumping ship? And I was like, yeah. Actually, I'm really frustrated with how little effort, like how little resources they're giving us on the development side. And so I came over and interviewed, and they had product managers that were much more experienced than I was. But because, I don't know, I guess they saw something or whatever that they liked. So I think as far as paper goes, what you see on paper, it gets you so far.
Yeah.
And then I think your personality and your experience and how you present yourself just takes you further, I would say. I don't know.
Well, that's good.
Oh,
advice.
good
That
answer.
Yeah, that answered my question.
Okay, any other questions? And I actually have to go too because my dog has been sitting as crazy.
Save your dog.
What?
Oh, save your dog.
I'm gonna save him. He's probably peeing his hair.
Oh,
Doesn't pee his pants.
Oh, thank you so
I'll probably give you, or
Yes, I'll give, is that okay if I could?
or on LinkedIn if you guys want to connect.
Yeah.
Like super good networking.
Yes, absolutely.
I'll write them up here.
DM30.
I'm around.
Amy and Jordan.
Nice to meet
I love this. Hi, guys.
Got it?
I'm Miriah.
Hi, Miriah.
Mariah's great. If you don't know, she runs the Women Who Go Utah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna.
Sorry.
No, you're good. We're not stolen my talk yet. So, yeah, I was gonna kind of introduce that a little. So, yeah, I am. The title I've given myself officially is data engineer. If you want to know more about that, you can ask later. So I do data pipeline construction / machine learning here at Weave / backend development. In my free time, I work with a group of other developers. We have a nonprofit, Forge Utah, that sponsors and organizes meetups. That puts me at the head of 2 meetups. One is Women Who Go. Evelyn came to that because she's already on the ball. So Women Who Go, Go's a programming language. If you haven't heard of it, you need to find it because it's the best programming language. And everyone should use it. So our mission, we want to, so Women Who Go as an organization, we try to help everybody learn the Go programming languages and get skills for their career. And more specifically than that, we do want to help enable women to find job opportunities and career advancement skills within the local Utah community. And being part of the Forge Utah nonprofit has really allowed us to network out. I also run the Machine Learning Utah meetup, and I'm involved in the Utah Go user meetup, Cloud Native Utah meetup, we have Front End Craftsman meetup, and we have the Web Development St. George meetup. So that's 6 meetups that we do with our nonprofit. So that being said, I can answer any questions you have about development. I can try to answer any questions you might have about project management, but I'm going to focus my remarks on the benefit of attending meetups and how that can help you in your career. I assume that you're all attempting to start a career being enrolled in or having recently finished Dev Mountain. I assume that's the audience I'm talking towards. If not, then the clock is misdirected. So yeah, come on. Oh, go back. So you've all heard of Meetup? Yes, no, maybe?
Yes.
So Meetup is an app. By an app, I mean service. There's a website and a mobile app. And it was made with the intent of getting people with like interests together. It does that really well, but I found that the tech community has adopted Meetup for all things technical. That being said, there's a global Meetup communities all over the place. San Francisco and New York have some of the biggest meetups ever, with thousands of people attending single events and tens of thousands of members in them. Ours are not that big. We have 1,000 members. I think we have total about 1,200 members across, not 1,200, 2,000 members across all of our meetups. And our biggest attendance, I think, was 70. So we do draw good numbers. We have them all here because look at this amazing space. Weave is awesome. So the purpose of meetups, at least in the tech space, is pretty specific, right? We go there, we go to learn new skills. People present about topics, right? Things we want to learn, things we've never done before. They do workshops, they do live coding events, all kinds of things. You go there to network. My favorite story is I actually got this job at Weave because of meetups, right? So I started a Go programming job, and my coworkers were going to this Utah Go user group, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. A whole bunch of Go developers. Maybe there's another girl. There wasn't. You know, you gotta have hope. So I went there and I was able to meet the CTO here at Weave, who happens to run it, and met some recruiters, met a whole bunch of, you know, really talented people in other companies. And, you know, after a couple of attendances, we can go the story later. Presenting, you can talk about things you've done. If you have side projects, interesting topics, unique interests, you can present them. And that was really good on a resume when you're trying to get a job, right? If you are able to present that shows mastery of a topic, it looks really good, people want to recruit you. The reason why I have this job here at Weave was I talked about at the Go meetup about machine learning and Go, and nobody else knew what I was talking about. And they're like, hey, she knows what she's doing, let's give her a job. I'm like, thank you. You can learn. There's all kinds of things you can learn at these meetups, especially if you've never gone there before. Like I said, the Women Who Go Utah, we specifically have a objective, a goal to teach, right? A lot of the people that come there have never used Go before or are very new to programming, so we try to stick to beginner topics. We try to help people learn, and we try to make it as interactive as possible. Some of the other meetups go very, very high level into deep things you've never, you know, that are very complex, but you can learn new things, take them away, and go apply them in your jobs and your careers. And people love when you come from a meetup and say, hey, I learned this thing, let's try it. They're like, okay, you know, we always want to improve our projects. And you also get to socialize, meet people in your same circles, right? You get to have friends who you don't see at work. I run so many meetups, that's my only social activity outside of my dog, so all of my friends are at meetups. So it's really a great opportunity all the way around. Everybody should go to meetups. Here, I just typed in Utah and pulled up a whole bunch of meetups. So this is just basically me copy and pasting and adding bullet points to the search for meetup.com. So I just typed in Utah, and this was the first 20 that came up. None of them are mine. Oh yeah, Machine Learning Utah's mine. See, that's my Utah Go user group. I've gone to, I didn't go to Pie Ladies because it's in Salt Lake and I have a dog, that's too far. Girls Develop It should have an S in there. But these are all things you can go, like they have, the point being is they have every interest group, right? If you like front end, they have front end. If you like design, they have design. If you like Go, they have Go. If you want Google, they have the Google Developer Group where they talk about all kinds of like super broad subject matter, right? They have every single possible interest you can imagine. whether it be a hobby or your career, like it's a super awesome opportunity to go and learn and grow and meet people who have the same common interest as you. Oh, and now I get to talk about my meetup. Since you're women, we can talk about Women Who Go. So, like I said, Women Who Go, we target women and gender minorities. We want people to learn Go. A big thing about it is we like to announce job openings, right? If somebody's hiring a Go developer, we want to make sure that our members know about those job positions. Sometimes we have recruiters come and let people know about opportunities that are open, whether they be contract or not. And you can meet friends who, you know, may pull you in later if they're looking for somebody to hire, because companies always hire referrals first. It's cheaper for them to do employee referrals than to pay for a recruiter. So if you go to Meetup, make a friend, you're more likely to get a job where they work, and then you know somebody who to work with you, right? You can gain experience presenting if you want that as part of your resume, which I definitely do. I like presenting, it's super fun for me. And you get to become part of the Go community. A lot of languages like to pretend like they have a international community. Go actually has one, that's why it's the best language. Women Who Go is an international organization. They have meetups all over, from Berlin to Argentina. So they have talks, they get together, and they have a Slack where you can communicate from people all over. I taught people in Ecuador were trying to set up a conference, and I was able to give them some resources to help them with the talk. Recently, the Go community also has a Slack that's super close-knit. They have a conference, and because of that global community, I was able to meet somebody, get to know him on Twitter. He's a former developer at Google, and I was able to get him to come here and speak at a meetup here, because I was part of that bigger community, meeting people and learning from them, right? So that's super awesome. Makes you feel like you have friends, even if it's only on the internet, which is all of my friends, except for my dog. It's adorable. And so I just have some links here. One is to the Meetup for Women Who Go. You can all go there and follow me. You can follow us on Twitter, but most importantly, I do have this link right here at the bottom. It's for the Forge Utah Slack. So that's, if you want to join it, we have JS resources, women in technology resources, Golang resources. It's the best way to contact me. If you have any questions, because of my meetup opportunities, people come talk to me about jobs, events, talking opportunities, career advice. So I get a lot of information that I like to share, and I post it on Slack.
Just curious, so the Forge Utah that I'm part of is spelled F-O-R-G-E.
Yes, because I misspelled it. Thank you. Thank you. See, somebody has to tell me these things because I can't spell. Oh gosh. Forge Utah. Thank you.
Yeah.
See, I changed the link, but not the words. So now you see, you go there, and then it comes up in the Slack and all these good things. I am the one that manages the Slack because I manage all things that are spammy. I feel like when I post on Slack, sometimes I just am spamming messages to everybody. But yeah. So that was a whole bunch of information. So if you have any questions about meetups, about your career, about development, about Weave, about anything, I'm happy to throw you a whole bunch of answers, whether they be true or not. Yeah, what can I just go? So Go's a programming language. So in today's world, there's basically two kinds of programming languages. There's scripted languages and compiled languages, right? So scripted languages have a runtime associated with them that you deploy. These are languages like JavaScript, Ruby, Python, things like that. So they run line by line, and they have a runtime as deployed. A compiled language means that everything, the language you wrote is changed into machine code that the processor reads and runs. Go is a compiled language. So that means you generally, instead of having a runtime error, like you would have with your scripted language, you have a compile time error. So those things would happen at compile time, and then you deploy basically an executable script to your server to run. C is a compiled language. I believe Rust is compiled. So these things tend to be more stable. They tend to be less lightweight because you're not deploying the code with the associated runtime, so you have more space on your server, on your CPU. Go, as opposed to C, it's more like readable English. You can look at it and say, oh, I know what that code's doing. It's a function with this, this, and this step instead of the archaic kind of C or C++ that generally gets used in those situations. And Go is incredibly fast, like 4 or 5 times faster than Python. So benefits of using Go and why everyone should use it. It's generally used in backend or distributed systems for those kinds of purposes.
Fairly new too, right?
2009 was when it was released. So for a programming language, yes, that is very new. Python was released in 91 and Java was, I think, 93. So that's very new for a programming language. And it's just barely picking up a whole lot of speed as far as enterprise, big businesses using it. That being said, it's in very high demand in Utah. Just because there's not as many Go developers as there are Go jobs, and a lot of companies are switching over to Go because compiled languages are more stable.
Is it the back end language here?
Yes, we use Go. We're a Go shop. 100%. That's why we run 2 Go meetups. Other thoughts, questions?
Can you tell me the stack just in general?
We have React and Go.
How did you like very first get involved with Go and
Go was my first, so graduated from college with a physics degree, went to grad school in physics, went there for a semester, said grad school sucks, so I quit. And my first software job was actually in Go. So I learned Go on the job and fell in love with it because it's the best language. I'm biased, right? The only language I've ever used on the job is obviously the best language. But it was really easy to learn, really awesome. I didn't ever have a whole ton of problems with it. And I do use Python for data science and data engineering, so it's not the only language I use. And I've used Java, and Java's disgusting. So never use Java. So that's how I started with Go, it was at work. And it's very common for people to hire developers to learn Go. Like I said, there's not a lot of Go developers. So they want people who have development experience or willingness to learn, and they'll come and you learn Go on the job. That shows A, Go really is easy to learn. B, there's not a lot of resources and it is high demand.
I was gonna say, where else could you learn Go? Like, obviously they don't teach it.
Well, at my meetup, Women Who Go. So we had a workshop here a while ago, back in April. So let's go to YouTube. So we had a workshop here. So Forge Utah has a YouTube. We love YouTube. So we have on here some resources for learning Go. Here's our Golang beginner workshop. This is from 0 to your first program in Go. Another great place to learn Go is my friend, Francesc, excuse me. So he's the one, he worked for Google. He has his own channel. It's just Learning Go. It's about 40.
Hi, I'm Francesc Campoy, and this is Just for Funk.
45 episodes for Learning Go. He actually was on the Google Golang team writing Go. So if you want to learn a language from somebody who actually wrote the language is a good person to learn it from. But he starts from Hello World and goes through machine learning and Go, 45 episodes. It's a great place to learn. Oh, and guess what? I have more resources. So if you go to the GitHub of Ashley McNamara, if you are interested in Go, Ashley McNamara draws the cutest gopher pictures. So all of my stickers, Go has a mascot. It is the gopher. Reasons why Go is the best language, it has a mascot. Ashley McNamara draws the best gophers. Here I have that sticker for her, right? She does she's a developer advocate at Microsoft, I believe. Anyway, her Learn to Code resources. She has every language imaginable. And of course, Golang. So she has a whole bunch of resources. So they have these resources. She has these books, like 75 billion of them. These online things, advanced Go books, videos. These are exercises, workshops, things you can work through. So if you ever, she has the reason, like I have my own, but I quit going to my list of resources because hers is better. So Gopher sizes is really good. Just for Funk, like I said, I know Udacity just launched their new Go thing. Udemy has a Go thing. Come to my meetups because they're the best meetups on the world. And Tour of Go is the one that Golang actually put out. So it runs on their website. That's a really good one. So yeah, that's the best way to learn Go.
Your meetups are once a month on Thursdays, right?
And yeah, so I'm doing them every other month now because I run so many meetups and nobody wants to come to that one. Like, women just don't want to come to the meetups about them. So that one, it's right here at Weave. All of the meetups that are here at Weave because Weave is awesome and they give us money to do this. And I work here, so I just stay late and no commute. So our next meetup is June, the 4th Thursday in June. I don't know what day that is. And we're learning about unit tests in Go. I don't know how much they talk about unit tests at Dev Mountain, but they are very important in Golang and in TDD, which is test-driven development. That's something that's very common right now. So we're going to talk about unit tests and the tooling that Go has built in for testing. That's super awesome. We have a great speaker coming who actually has a master's degree in computer programming education. So he's a software developer and then went and got his master's degree in how to teach software. So June 27th is that meetup. So you're all supposed to come to that because you were here. And there you can get a sticker on the table, the little gophers, to remind you to come to my meetup on the 27th. Other women who go. I mean, you can come to all of my meetups, but that's the most important one.
Is that June?
June 27th.
Okay,
Yes.
not next.
No, that's Memorial Day.
So you can show up here on Memorial Day, but
June 27th. June 27th is the Women Who Go meetup. June 28th is the Machine Learning Utah meetups. No, May 28th. So next week I do have a meetup, but not Women Who Go. Other questions? Yes,
This isn't a go. It's a career advice.
that's fine. I do that too.
Yeah. I'm assuming like most people here are kind of new to development. And what worries me is 7 months ago, I started a new job and it was one particular stack was like ASP.NET MVC, C#. It was a particular GUI. It was a particular IDE. And then a month ago, we started a brand new stack because they decided to change another app like in-house. And what worries me is becoming like a jack of all trades, but master of none. Do you have any advice about that? Like switching jobs and having to restart languages to the point where you're not senior or mid?
So that's not bad. You can negotiate your careers in 2 ways. One is experience in a specific language, like me with Go. I went and said, I've only been developing for 9 months, but I know Go to the point that none of you know what I'm talking about. And I was able to negotiate my career that way. Or you can go with, you know what, I've used all of these tools, I have experience with them, and just say, I have X amount of time and experience as a developer, right? You used a bunch of tools and then you just throw the time out there. Like, I've been doing this 2 years and don't like, You can have hobby project, like that's when I would say, I have this hobby project, or I help with this open source project in one language, but I work in all of these other languages, right? So you're saying, look at me, I've learned all of this stuff. And that's what you market, right? I've learned all of these things on the job. I'm a quick learner. I can learn your stack. I can help contribute. And I've been doing this for X amount of years. So that's what you try to market to. There's two options. Like I said, depends on where you're interviewing. It depends on what your skill set is, but that's completely normal. A lot of people who work here at Weave started out in PHP, and then they did Ruby, and they did Java, and now they're doing it. Like, everybody ends up doing more than one language, unless you're me, and I'm the unicorn of it. Like, I don't. That's not normal to do Go and then keep doing Go. It's more typical to start in JavaScript and do a little bit of Rails, and then do a little bit of Ruby because you know Rails, and then move around. And now you need to do C# because that's where you're working now. That's totally normal. You learn what you need to for the job, and they care more about how long you've been working in the field than what tools specifically you use. That's totally fine. No, seriously, the more tools you have experience with, especially on the job experience, the better your resume will look. It just specific, I did this at work. There you go.
All things we can't put on a resume. We did a bunch of things that can't put on a resume. Is that normal to like have to create projects to prove on a resume that you've learned something?
No, I don't create projects that I've learned. I mean, where's my GitHub? My GitHub is full of a whole bunch of useless projects. I don't say you need to specifically do that. I've seen resumes where people don't even so do I have a copy of my resume on here? Guys, my resume's old.
You'll have to reconnect to.
I do. Well, I don't want them to see all of my Google Drive yet. There it is. So, now that I have my resume, 7095. So on my resume,
97. Oh, you did it anyway.
oh, sorry, I said the wrong number. Don't look, I'm moving, and that's not my phone number, so all my personal information is void. So this is my little spiel. Like I said, I wrote this when I'd been developing 9 months. So very young, not really a whole lot of things to put on there besides the fact that I have a degree. So what's very common is this list of skills gets very long the more things you've touched, right? So I did C++ for one college class. That was one semester. I have not touched it since, but it was something I used. Java was the same thing, one class. Python, Go, people start listing C#, C++, JavaScript, all things they touched for a job they maybe did for 3 months. So these all ends up being things you've listed. I've seen people that have had paragraphs this long of just all the things they've touched and then 2 jobs. So it depends on what you're trying to market towards. If you're trying to work with a recruiter with keywords, the more skills, the better. The more random things you've touched, whether it be at work or not, that's fine. Here I talk about certificates. See, I can speak Spanish. That applies nothing to a development job, but I'm still putting it on my resume because it looks cool. This website doesn't even work, so I took it down. This has nothing on the LinkedIn. See, I just at the time, I ran one meetup for fun, and it had been a month. I'd had one meeting and 2 people showed up. It was great. Now we have 4. And then the GitHub, and that's it. Just the link to my GitHub. My GitHub has a lot of projects on it now that it didn't before, but these are my Udacity projects that I did when I was pretending to be a front-end developer that I quit halfway because I didn't like it. These were things that I did in school. This is a thing from a workshop. This is a clone of somebody else's repo. So of my 30 repos, half of them are unfinished. I wouldn't want people to go look at them. They're just there, and it's just a link on there to show people I've made them. If you're creating them for a job, you're doing it for the wrong reason. Do it because you like it. Right? Because the whole point is to find a passion, something you like. So if you don't like it, don't make a project for it. I would suggest that going to meetups and meeting people would be a much better avenue to getting a job than creating projects just for a resume. Or you could go to a meetup, find somebody's personal project and say, hey, can I work with you on it? Then you fork it, it's your project, it's interesting to you, it's on your GitHub, but it's fun, right? So it's more fun than building a website to have a personal website. My website was in WordPress. That's super easy, and I took it down because I didn't like the server I was using. So that's my personal opinion. Second opinion, if you're having trouble finding a job, use a recruiter. They're awesome, they know what they're doing, and they will give you better advice towards preparing the resume specifically to get jobs. That's what they do all day. You know, so, and if you ever want questions about recruiters, I know all of them. Not really, I only know 4. But I pretend like I know all of them. Other questions?
Do you work at all with like UX or iOS developers or?
Me specifically, I have in the past. So at a previous job, I worked on a team with them. UX tends to work more closely with front end or product. So product owners are trying to make a product that the customer wants. The product owner, product manager, same thing. The front end is the one that makes it on the website, and the back end, we really don't care about that. Like, we make the APIs for the hookup. So there's not like a direct UX connection until you start going up into management, right? Managers always have their fingers in everything. So I personally haven't, because I've stayed pretty much in back end, and I'm going from back end to like data, which is even more back end. Like, I'm going super buried in the stack. So data and machine learning, I most likely won't for a while, except for when I do my meetup stuff. We really would love to have a UX person to help us do that, but we don't have any money yet, so can't pay 'em. But if you want a hobby project, you can find a passion there. So yeah.
Thank you.
Should we grab some food before it gets cold and then you can continue?
Yeah, go grab food. We can talk, guys. Just this does not have to be formal at all. Grab some food. We can keep chatting.
Didn't end up showing up, so we ordered some Domino's. There's all different kinds, so hopefully that works.
Go
Some pizza.
Go grab your pizza. I want food too. We can keep chatting. As informal as you want to keep it.
Yeah.
Grab my stickers because I print them. I can't print more until people take them all.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Always throws me off. Since she interviewed her, because I met her when we were young. Thank you.
And a jar, did you